I will call this work session of the mayor and council to order. Council members are present. It's April 9th, 2012. First go to our regular council agenda. We have the invocation. I did have contact with Father, is it Hinault? Is that right? Hinault. He will be here this evening to give the invocation. Pledge to the flag. Do we have any? We don't have any Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts coming tonight. Okay. I'll have someone in the audience recognize the announcements. You all have a copy of them in your packet. Proclamation for Arbor Day. There's a copy of it. I understand the date is wrong, and so we'll make that correction. And then the proclamation for parental alienation awareness. Arbor Day, I'm not sure why Arbor Day is like that, but the parental alienation awareness, is Ms. Crow here? No. The original one that we got sent was called Bubble of Love Day. Staff changed it a little bit. I was hesitant to do the proclamation, but Loganville and Grayson have done it, and this is a personal crusade of this lady, so I agreed to do it. You guys know that when I took office, I began the tradition of putting everyone's names on the proclamations. I didn't have staff put your names on this one because I didn't know if you would agree with this proclamation or not. It wasn't because I was trying to keep you off of it, but it was kind of a little hazy proclamation. So if y'all want to sign this proclamation, that's fine with me. I think staff has changed it and they've done 2 different versions. If you want it just to be my name on there, I'm fine with that. I did tell the lady I would do the proclamation tonight, but if you want to sign it, that's up to y'all. I don't want to do it where either we're all signing it or we're not. I don't want to do it as it's not a vote, it's a proclamation. So that's up to y'all what y'all want to do tonight.
The proclamations require our signatures?
No. No.
Now you got me confused. Mayor just says starting with the proclamations will have all signatures. Now you're saying they only have the
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I didn't want to put. It was something
well,
I didn't know.
The last meeting though, they were just you were only signature on the proclamation, correct?
No. Everybody's signature was on there.
It's our decision whether we want to be.
I asked that your
signature kind of iffy.
Right. I didn't know if you would want to actually support this. It was iffy, so I asked that I wanted to take responsibility since it was an iffy proclamation. But if y'all want to support it, I'm happy for you to support it.
Do you have to have alienated your parents? No.
Well, and Karen did a wonderful. Karen did a wonderful job of taming down the proclamation that was given to us. So.
I mean, the message is. The message is what it is. I mean, I think kids and all the best results should have their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's fine.
I mean, I certainly, I don't have a problem saying it.
Okay. Then we will read the one that has everybody's signature on it. Moving on then to minutes. Does anybody have any objections or any corrections to the council minutes? No?
No, I don't see it.
Invited guests. I'm not aware of any invited guests we're going to have tonight. Committee department report. Since we do not have a city representative on the CID board, Mr. Brooks, the executive director, will be here tonight to give us an update. Ms. Steele, she's in the corner. She'll be here to give us an update from Parks and Rec. And then urban redevelopment. I'm assuming Mr. Warner will be here tonight to give us an update on that.
And yeah, I thought Todd said he wasn't going to be here.
No, I talked to him late this afternoon. He said he's going to be.
Okay, he was sending Jerry, but he must be coming
in. We have no old business. Going on to new business. Mayor's nomination of interim city manager. As you all know, Mr. Treadway's last day was Friday. He operated this today without a city manager, and so I plan on tonight nominating the chief to be the interim city manager. I did speak with the Snellville group today. They've received about 35 resumes for the city manager position. I talked to them about the chief being interim. They thought that that was a wise decision, had no problem with that, and thought we did need an interim city manager.
Do you think that maybe we could have had a little bit notice rather than the work session about that decision, Mayor?
I told you a long time ago that who my two choices are. You told me last time you had problems with the previous choice, and so that only left the chief.
I asked, no, my question was, do you think that it's appropriate that you give the rest of your council this information 1 hour before the vote?
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, once you had this information about 2 months ago, when we had an executive session on it, I told you who my choices would be. I think in an email over the past couple of weeks, you proposed another choice, and I told you that for the same reasons I put in exec session, I would not support that choice. So you've known for quite some time, when this was on an agenda before, I told you that my choice would be the chief. We then went back to the person I had last council agenda. You guys raised issues the last council meeting with that person, and so I'm back with supporting the chief. I've never heard anything against the chief except for the fact that.
It's not a matter of whether it's the chief or not.
Let me finish, Mayor Pro Tem Woods. I was
It's the way we've
speaking,
done it.
when you get recognized by the chair, then you can have your turn to speak, Mayor Pro Tem Woods. But I've never heard anything negative against the chief or any reason why he would not serve as a fine interim city manager. At this point, the concerns were at the appropriate time. We would make the decision of who would be interim. I haven't gotten any other nominations from anyone else on this council, and so I do, having no reason for it not to be the chief, I do plan on going forward with his appointment, or his nomination tonight.
I want to go back a couple of meetings ago when we had the one other nominee, and I brought forth the idea that I had would like to talk to him face to face. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was instruction from you that if we needed to have any questions about this person, that you would handle getting that person to
I
come
never
in.
gave those instructions. I gave those instructions about nominees for committees. I never gave any instructions about having that person come in. I believe that Councilman Emanuel raised some questions about some issues with another city, but we never made any arrangements.
So that's not across the board nominees, it's just when you pick and choose who you want the information to go through, right?
No, no.
Okay, I'm just trying to
All right,
understand.
listen, you can leave the attitude at the door, Councilman Howard.
Mr.
I'm trying to,
He has no attitude.
Mayor Pro Tem Woods, when you get recognized, then you can speak, okay? Councilman Howard, I'm trying to answer your question. I don't need the sarcasm from you. There's no reason, you all had objections to the previous nominee. I agreed to postpone it, and so you could answer those questions. No one made any, communication goes both ways. No one made any contact saying you needed information about him. You had his resume. Let me finish. Councilman Howard, let me finish.
I did in that meeting. I just reviewed the video.
Okay, you had his contact information, you had my contact information, you had Mr. Treadway's contact information. If there was a concern, then you could have brought it up before tonight. But I've taken him off the table because you weren't the only one that said you had concerns with him. And there have been no concerns issued about the chief. You had issues with the other person's resume. There have been no concerns about the chief, so I plan on going forward with the chief tonight.
What was your issue with Phil McLemore?
If you want to go into an exec session, I'm happy to discuss that with you, but I don't, out of respect for him, I don't want to discuss that in a public meeting. I think I said that in the last exec session, but I'm happy to remind you about it.
Well, I had a conversation with Nancy Harris. I got a different version there, just curious. Okay.
Regardless, I'm not going forward with that nominee tonight. My nomination is going to be the chief. You sit there and stare at me all you want, but that's going to be my nomination. Any other discussion as far as the nomination of interim city manager? Moving on then to the Oak Road Passive Park, I believe we're still waiting for an opinion on SPOS funds and what was authorized and if we have any obligations. So I'm going to ask that that be, I'm going to remove my sponsorship of that item and ask that it be removed until the maybe April 23rd meeting. We have review the SPOS information by then, or do you need
Yes,
it later?
that's the next meeting. I think that's when it's on the next agenda next. The SPOS issue is on the agenda for the April 23rd meeting. Yeah, that should be fine.
Consideration action on the TIA projects. We received that list from Mr. Davis last time. it is moving forward. We need to approve those projects so that we can start publicizing those to the public. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about the list of projects?
Where did the bike paths come? I missed that until they came up the first time. But prior to that, where did they come from?
Mr. Davis?
They came from, we did an internal plan staff level, and they came from Lisa Platt Park, making connectivity between park sites, schools, and center as a method of getting people around. It seemed like a very logical thing to do at that time. It would also be something that would help the town center development as an element of that.
Just a lot of money for facilities I have serious questions about anybody can use. So I just didn't know if there was something I had missed, if it was part of something previous or whatever, but you can build a lot of other stuff for the amount of money. We're talking about bike paths, and bike paths typically aren't used very much.
So-
People always want them, but then they don't use them, from what I've seen.
So are we looking for a vote on this?
That's what it's on the agenda for.
Okay, going back to the work session meeting 2 weeks ago, reviewing edits, it would be put on the agenda this meeting for further discussion. I think is the exact words.
But this is the discussion right now that we're having.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, if you're not comfortable in voting in it, we can make a motion to postpone it, but it's been put back on. We had it on the work session last time, you received it. If we need to have further discussion tonight, but if not, it's ready for action. If we have issues that we need to take things off or change things, we can do that. Tonight, we can amend it and vote on it, or we can amend it and vote to postpone it.
You want to let it on there?
My concerns about it is that it's $2 million on the bike path. We're trying to do everything we can to get the downtown center developed. I think that's $2 million in infrastructure we could use downtown to get the downtown center up, rather than a bike path that's 2 miles long, when, you know, everything that we've seen in urban development and the walkable community says that you get over a quarter of a mile, people just aren't interested in it. Again, a bike path 2 miles from Briscoe Park to the center, people are either gonna have to park their bike at Briscoe Park and come into the town center and drive back 2 miles, or gonna have to park their car. And I have serious considerations about the bicycle path 2 miles down to Briscoe Park. I also have some consideration on the one at Oak Grove Park, since we don't even have a sidewalk there yet. So I won't be supporting it tonight, but if we wanted to postpone it perhaps and maybe discuss it further, I'd be happy to do that. But as I didn't realize it was coming to a vote until I saw this on Thursday. I'm not ready to vote for a $2 million bike path.
Oh, we can, but make sure y'all are all clear. I mean, the time for discussion is in work session, so I mean, if we need to hammer out some changes, we need to do that now.
Well, we also have right-of-way issues, as far as I know. We don't know if we can put a sidewalk on Oak Road. How the hell do we know if we're gonna put a bike path on it?
But I think y'all are missing, okay, let me back up. The purpose of this is just like when we have a SPLOST referendum. You have to earmark certain projects that you want. If we collect that money, this is our wish list of projects that we want to happen. There's still gonna be other hurdles we're gonna have to jump through, but this is what, a 10-year plan?
It's a 10-year plan, and there's nothing that guarantees these projects will even make the list yet.
But we have
This is something that I was taking to the county. Kim Conroy, who's head of Gwinnett DOT, has set up a subcommittee of TIA groups that is settling down the projects that would be split between city and county. The bike path area that we're talking about doing is essentially a combination sidewalk bike path type thing. Would be essentially a wide sidewalk. We may or may not make the list of TIA with this. Are there other things we could do in the town center? Yes, there are. I don't have to have anything right away because they haven't scheduled the meeting yet. I did send this as a tentative list to Kim, so he would have it. I have not gotten any feedback from him yet.
But we need to go, you don't need anything right away as far as the meeting with the county, the joint committee with the county.
No,
But we have, the TIA vote is coming up in July. And so if you remember, we talked about having the town hall meetings with ARC and starting to publicize. And so in order to move that forward, we need a list that we're gonna be taking out to the residents. there may be other things that we want to do as far as infrastructure, but this is limited to transportation. Also, you have to think what's gonna pass, are the citizens gonna be excited about, because you're taking this list to them and asking them to self-tax themselves, to add a penny, is it a penny or 2 pennies?
Penny.
A penny tax onto their sales. So, you know, other cities have certain, Mayor Johnson and other cities have advised that you want to do projects that you can see are going to be readily available, sidewalk projects, paving projects, things that when you're asking for them to pass a SPLOS or a transportation SPLOS, that people are going to say, this is what I'm getting for my penny that I'm spending, and that is going to benefit the community as a whole, and not so that, because everyone's voting on this, not just Snellville, but everyone in the state. So you want things that are going to help benefit, or you're going to be able to sell. I mean, it's going to be marketing that you're going to be able to sell the community why they should tax themselves, what we're going to do with that 1 penny, 15% that's coming to the city of Snellville. So the bike path, I think, had been in a master plan many moons ago. If we do the underground passageway across 78, the thought in the master plan back before was that the bike path, people could go from the town center underneath 78 and go down to the park, and it would help tie in the park to the town center area. It would create destination spots throughout the community, and I think that's why, I think that's how initially the bike
That's how it
paths
initially
up.
came about, and it's also something that threads its way through the entire community across a large area.
Okay, first of all, in response, I don't think that the citizens of Snellville need much more incentive about the T-Splosh than to know that the intersection of 78 and 124 is going to be improved. I think that's, if we're going to sell T-Splosh in this community, that's what we use to sell it. Second thing is, I believe the majority of the city is behind the downtown project. And I think that we need to show them that that's where we're moving. It's a long way from town center to Briscoe Park. It's a long way. And I don't know that, I'm not an expert, I'm just saying that I don't know that doing that will help anyway in us investing in and improving our town center. I'd like to see projects come out that would benefit the town center and keep our motivation in that district, and not 2 miles away or a mile away. Again, I was a little shocked when I saw this on that. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the last meeting, but I was a little shocked to see this come up as for a vote tonight. I'm not ready to vote on it. I would ask that the staff, we were told it was a tentative thing, and here's what we come up with. I didn't realize it's going beyond us. I'd just like to maybe have another meeting with staff and with some of council's input, and see what we can do about putting together a list that would be more beneficial to us in the downtown district, doing things down there, and I believe that we have the entire city's support on that.
Well, beyond that, I've got a problem with people looking at it and saying, we got all these traffic problems, and what do? They put in bike paths. And looking at the fact that we're not looking at the traffic problems getting around Snellville.
We did look at the traffic problems getting around Snellville. Most of the traffic, the chief put forth a list of maybe a dozen traffic issue areas that he wanted to look at. Each one of those areas turns up in the 2009 SPLOS, which the county is saying right off the bat, all of the 2009 SPLOS is going to be financed by their part of the money coming in. So there's about a half a dozen intersections. There are sidewalk improvements. There are traffic light improvements. All of that is going out on the county's dime.
And so when you're looking at our list, you have to look at it in conjunction. There's the state list of projects, which the 78, 124 intersection is in. Then there's the county list of projects, and then the city gets what's left, or that 15%. So you have to look at all three lists in conjunction, because there are some things that are being solved. And then also with some of the traffic problems, you have to look at, we're only getting, was it $4 million, projected $4 million?
$4 million over 10 years.
Over 10 years. So a lot of the traffic problems, that's not enough money to solve them. So what are we gonna do?
That's the point.
But
But now
let's
we got
just-
$2 million on bike paths.
Let's just ask the people in the room, when was the last time that is there anybody in this room in the last 3 months that saw someone on a bicycle in Snellville, on a road in Snellville? In the last 3 months?
I'm not arguing with you about the bicycle lanes. I'm just talking
Well, that's
about.
my whole deal.
Okay, but I'm talking about overall, that when you're thinking about what wants to go on this list, those are the factors that you need to consider. Maybe it's not the bicycle lanes.
Well, that's all I'm saying. We
Okay,
need
but
to do a
not
better list.
the other, I'm trying to educate everybody, I'm not just responding to your comments, Mayor Pro Tem Wentz.
Well, I would say we need to postpone this, and have everybody have the time to look at it, and make an intelligent decision rather than just.
And that's fine, if there's gonna be further discussion, if there needs to be a session with staff, if we need to call a special work session, then we need to hammer that out now, because it is gonna be July before we know it, and we've got several things with the budget and everything else going on, we've got conferences in June, so we need to, if we need to have further discussions, we need to hammer that out now, when we want those to occur and how we want those to occur.
Mr. Davis, can we repopulate the entire list, how this list was?
Sure.
I mean, because I know we got 2 lists last time, so.
The other list
confused.
has stuff that went pure county.
Okay.
Also, when we had the discussion before, I believe you all got copies of this. And it's marked in yellow, the things that are inside the city that the county is doing 100% of. And you'll find your intersection improvements, your sidewalk improvements, that sort of thing in there. As well as the state stuff is all the way in the back. But you should have, I'll be glad to send you that list out again, but it's in the package you picked up last week.
Well, it was on 2 lists.
There were 2 lists.
There were 2 lists, so if the longer list is the inclusive list, then it's.
The longer
on that.
list is the inclusive list.
Okay.
But that's the county's list, we're not voting on that. We're just voting on
But
our
it'll,
list.
it'll give you an
It has
understanding.
both.
It has both.
It has both.
And it'll give you an
That's what I
understanding
was
of what's being done in addition to what we've done.
Right. That's what I'm looking.
Mayor,
Look at the whole picture.
Mayor, may I propose, the concepts that are being discussed right now, would it be possible to ask council to send the projects that have been just brought up right now, send them in an email message to Mr. Davis so he can populate the list about Town Green or Town Center or whatever that is, that may be excluded from this list, along with a comment about where it should be. I'm not sure if this is if this has a proprietary order.
Are we okay doing that via email?
Council sending stuff to Mr. Davis, I think that's fine. Yeah, I think it's not our council to send things to Mr. Davis.
Well, basically, I mean, the underground, if you need it, if you want to try it, I mean, what is it gonna cost us to connect that road from Oak to this tunnel? I mean, to me, that's a better place to spend money at this point than it would be on a bicycle path to Briscoe Park. That's where I'm at.
That's fine. I mean, if we want to take every dime that we're bringing in and focus it on the town center, as a planner, I don't have a big problem with that. I'd love to see the town center move ahead. It's one of the big projects on my agenda, how to make it happen. And that is something that would make it happen. Now, it will concentrate all of your TIA money in one area. Do you want to spread it around? You want to spread some of the city money around throughout the city? Maybe bringing up the bike path master plan and adding that in at this time is not something you want to do. You know, you don't see people riding bikes in Snellville because there's no place to ride a bike in Snellville.
Well, they'd have to take their car to get to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing that out.
I know.
I'm not.
I know where I live, I've got 2.5 miles of bike trail. And then I'm out there at the mercy of the pickup trucks.
I would just, my only point is that I think that any benefit that we make to downtown benefits the entire city. I understand what you're saying about country spot, but I think that the downtown improvements benefit every citizen, their property values. That's where, if we're gonna help people in the city, that downtown center is probably, in my mind, no one else will speak for myself, the biggest area that we can concentrate on that's going to affect, this will affect everyone in the city, one way or another, either with a location or property value or several other ways.
I do not disagree with you at all.
Let me put this out there as well. When you're thinking about this list, there are some theorists who believe that if the T-SPLOS passes, then we may not have future SPLOS. So with SPLOS, we have paid for our paving and we have paid for our sidewalks. So a lot of cities are banking on that they may not get that future money for future paving projects or future sidewalks, and so they are using a portion of their T-SPLOST, their, T-SPLOST money for those projects, because otherwise you're gonna have to come out of pocket out of your general fund. If there is no, if the citizens pass this, transportation tax, they may not pass a SPLOST tax in the future, and you may not have that extra money to do those things.
And we do have $500,000, I think, in general paving as part of these projects.
Right. But I mean, I'm saying for 10 years, this may be all the money you're gonna get. So if you use it all on a road, then you may not have any money left to do your paving and your sidewalk projects for the next 10 years.
So you're saying that if we focus the money on the town center, then other essential projects will end up being left out?
They may.
And they may not.
If you use it all,
Well, wait a minute. If you put them in bicycle paths, you do the same thing.
right, if you put them all on bicycle paths, all of
Same
them, yeah,
thing.
same thing happens.
Same
So I
burden.
think, yeah, I think this has to be more of a balancing act. And what I'm looking, folks, what I'm looking at this list here is more or less of a wish list, marketing list, that if we can throw it out there and get the support of the powers to be, and we end up having the $4.2 million, I think that's what the number is all about. The money's in the city, that's when the planner, Mr. John Davis, can help guide us through the essential projects that are priority projects. So,
I'm not sure if bicycle path or Bristol Park.
well, I'm not saying, that he can guide us in the priority projects. I didn't say anything about the bicycle paths. I'd like to see bicycle paths in the city, I really truly do. I think that would bring in the community out a little bit more, and you'll see less traffic on the roads if you can get on a bike and get yourself that ice cream cone that you want instead of driving a car inside the town center.
Okay, Mr. Davis